Hi, Internet. I'm Eileen Shuman of Shuman and Shuman PC. I'm a divorce attorney based in Atlanta, Georgia. And here's my disclaimer: I am not your attorney unless you have paid my fees and signed a contract. This video is for educational purposes only and is not legal advice. If you would like to schedule an intake call with my office, you can go to my website, which will be listed somewhere on here, and click the schedule conference link. Please don't rely on the internet for legal advice ever, especially if you're dealing with family matters. How do I prevent getting divorced? That is a question I get asked all of the time. So, what is the secret to never getting divorced? Don't get married. I'm kidding. Kind of. Let's talk about it. Why do people get married? So, to look this up, I turned to Gertie. Gertie is my name that I gave my chat GPT assistant. And I asked Gertie to tell me the top 5 reasons why people in the United States get married. So Gertie did her work and found a Pew Research Center survey that said that the top 5 reasons Americans choose to get married are love, which was 88% of the respondents. I said respondents like it's court, but 88% of the people surveyed said that love was their motivator for being married. It's kind of nice. The next thing was 81% said, okay, the math doesn't work. I don't know how they did this, but they have 81% said for commitment. I'm just realizing this as I'm reading my script to you. Okay. 76% ranked companionship as really important. So I guess it's just they gave them some things and said, how do you rank them? What's interesting though is it goes 31% of married adults said that having children was a factor in them getting married. And then 28% said financial stability. So we've got love and commitment at the very top, and then children and financial stability kind of at the bottom. And then I asked Gertie, can you tell me if any of the people who responded mentioned religion? And she said in that same survey that 30% of the people who answered said that religious ceremony was a reason to get married. But it's still ranked so low, right? After love, a lifelong commitment, companionship. I had to remember. So, where did this concept of legal marriage come from? Well, most of our law comes from our biological parents, aka England. And under English common law, marriage was a civil contract created that allowed men and women to get married without a religious ceremony. And in the early American colonies, there's a lot of people who are running from the English church, so they need to get married and they need to do it without a religious ceremony. So voila, we have co opted the English common law, and even though there were still, it's important to know, there were still plenty of religious people in the colonies and they needed a religious ceremony because they felt it was between the couple and God, which interestingly, hasn't changed really much today. There are people that go to the courthouse and get married. There are people that have a religious ceremony, and there's some people who do both. But as time went on, the states realized they had to have some regulations, right? Age of consent, parental consent, laws against family members marrying, and the creation of marriage licenses, right? And of course, here's where we get to the money. It's always about money. The marriage licenses. So, what do? It's a great way for the states to be able to collect taxes and revenue and keep tabs on its citizens and create legitimacy of children, form inheritance laws, and my personal favorite, coverture. What's coverture, you ask? Well, that's the part of the law where women legally merged into their husbands. Women couldn't own property, enter contracts, be sued in their own name, which isn't so bad. Husbands controlled all property that women brought into the marriage, unless, interestingly enough, there was a trust set up for the woman from her family or a prenuptial agreement. Any wages earned by women at this time were the legal property of the husband, and custody of the children, I thought was fascinating, defaulted to husband in cases of separation and divorce, which also kind of makes sense why in the 1980s we have all these men's groups rights, coming to take their property back, their women and their children. So, how did women get out of coverture? Well, you either never got married or your husband had to die. Okay, the end. That's the end of my TED talk. Okay, I'm just kidding. But I'm kind of not kidding because to maintain autonomy in the day, you had to do that. All right, back to my original question. How do you avoid divorce? Well, there isn't a secret formula. And if you look up marriage rates on the web, you really get similar results from all these different search engines. And although it looks like marriage rates may have dipped, they're back to pre pandemic rates. And divorce rates have dipped, but it's also because attitudes about marriage and family structure has changed. According to usafacts.org, as of 2024, less than half of US households were headed by married couples. And this is a continuing trend from 2010. When you look into marriage attitudes by generation, I found it fascinating. Okay, the baby boomers from 1946 to 1964, they're more traditional about marriage, surprise, surprise, but they have the highest divorce rates. Gen X, which is my generation, we're born from 65 to 80. We're more traditional, but because we're from divorced parents, a lot of us, we have a high acceptance rate of divorce and cohabitation. Here's where it starts to shift. Millennials, 1981 to 1996, they have an average marriage age of 30.8 years from 2020. And only 40% of millennials believe marriage is necessary for a successful relationship. And then Gen Z enters the chat, right? These are people born between 1997 and 2012. 65% of Gen Z think marriage is important, but not a necessity in their life and relationships. And 48% of Gen Z that's married, per Investopedia.com, said they had a formal financial plan before marriage. I'm not really sure what that's defined as, but it does indicate to me that Gen Z is financially aware and they incorporate that awareness into their relationship calculation. Okay, I still haven't answered how to avoid getting divorced. Okay, communication is key, financial planning, and a large degree of luck dashed with a leap of faith. For the people that want more than luck and hope, a prenuptial agreement helps, or a cohabitation agreement if you're going to be unmarried but buying property together, or even a business operating agreement if you're going to mix assets like homes, accounts, whatever it is. There's a lot of tools in the toolbox. But the most important thing is consult with an attorney that specializes in family law to determine what your best options are based on your facts and circumstances. Spend the time to have a plan that can save you from having cuckoo crazy litigation later on down the road. Divorce attorneys are much more like consultants than we are like counselors, which is hilarious because a lot of my clients think I'm a counselor, not a consultant. Um, but I'm digressing. Divorce attorneys, especially ones with specialized training and understanding and experience in family law, we can help our clients understand and determine what's the best path forward for them and what other professionals do we need to consult in this pre-marriage planning or pre-divorce planning. And yes, that is a thing, pre-divorce planning. You just didn't realize it. Pre divorce planning is when you talk to a lawyer before anything is filed with the court to see if you can reach an agreement outside of court, or you help strategize with your attorney to come up with a plan prior to anything being filed. So, to recap, the only way to never get divorced is not to get married. And if that isn't an option for you, the next best thing is to have an emergency plan in case of divorce. It is a weird world out there. Stay safe.